They call themselves Good Bitches Baking, and they have a simple goal: to make Aotearoa the kindest place on earth. Also known as GBB, in Rotorua it's been running for 2 years, sharing kindness through baking for those doing it tough in their local community.
Basically, we are a group of volunteers that love to bake. We want to share kindness to people struggling, having a tough time, and we just sort of feel that we want to bring kindness to those people through our baking.
The organization has chapters around the country, from Kaitaia to Gore. In Rotorua, there are 26 volunteers, with each expected to bake at least once a month, but extra treats are always welcome.
It's only a couple of hours, probably a month. So it's not a lot of time. Some of us, like myself, single, no family, can't eat all the baking by myself, but I love baking, so for me it's perfect. Then we have families or women that have families and their children actually help them bake as well. You know, we've got some bakers that are quite simple bakers. We've got bakeries that bake, you know, they bake professionally, and then they bake in their spare time, in their home time, for the organisation as well.
All the baking is done on a volunteer basis, many of them combining their GBB commitments with full-time jobs.
I work 60, 70 hours a week normally. I don't have the spare time to go and volunteer regularly outside of home. So for me, this is perfect. Mucking around in my kitchen is my happy place. So for me to share my baking with people that are struggling, it works for me. Works with the limited time I have.
But Stacey says the response she gets makes the juggle more than worthwhile.
I think the reason I do the baking, you know, when you do actually get to see the actual recipients and the look on their faces when you hand over this baking, and it's just that feeling, or from what they've said, you know, that somebody has actually taken out time in their own day to bake for them. They're just in awe. The feeling that gives you, I love it. It's hard to describe. It definitely makes me happy. You know, it's just a little simple gesture on my part, but it makes such a big difference to their world.
The volunteers come from all walks of life and have different motivations for taking part.
Being involved in Good Bitches Baking is attractive for me because I think it is something that's easy to do in your own time. I enjoy that I'm able to contribute some act of kindness or make a difference for someone through something I enjoy doing, and that it's a tangible thing, that the delight when someone gets something that's been made for them by someone else and made with love and care. The thought of someone receiving that in their day, that moment of sweetness, gives me a lift.
The volunteers can bake whatever their heart desires. For some, it's a chance to show off family recipes handed down through the generations.
I tend to be quite simple in my baking. I like to use a lot of my mum's old recipes, the good old fashioned kind of thing. So I'd spend a couple of hours on that, but I could spend a lot more time if I wish to spend decorating things. I'm a psychologist in my everyday work, and I think when we look at what are the aspects of well-being, giving and connecting to others is a fundamental thing that lifts us. But I think also it's really important in how the world is at the moment to have people being kind and thinking of others.
Awesome, thank you very much.
These freshly made scones are going to the Wairaki Women's Refuge, one of the organizations GBB supports.
So the thing I enjoy in Good Bitches is I'm aware across the country we must have about 3,000 volunteers, and that gives me a little special feeling that I'm part of something bigger. I mean, the reality is most of the time the work we're doing it by ourselves in our own kitchens, but every so often we're able to come together, and that's nice. But just to see on social media, knowing across Aotearoa there are other people baking and giving and receiving, is that sense of a connection to more than yourself. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Good Bitches Baking delivers to a number of Rotorua charities, all very grateful for the goodies they receive. For some of their clients, it's a real highlight.
We're so grateful, really, because all of the baking is just a hit. Some of the whānau that come into our programs don't always get fresh baking to eat, so it's really a blessing for them. Anything that doesn't go out in any of our programs on Tuesday or Thursday goes to our food bank, so either way it all goes back to our community, and so we're grateful, we're blessed.
Anyone who wants to be a good bitch and do some baking, get in touch at www.gbb.org.nz. Mead Norton Local Focus.